Okay, so we're going to be taking a look at another one of the posts on the Korean Mabinogi Eternity project site. So I would like to talk about texture production during the process of remodeling Turconail, where Militians will live. If you change the engine to Unreal, the background graphics will have to get better. Wouldn't it be possible to make it respond to real-time light by adding normal, roughness, and specular so that the characteristics of each material stand out? I'll make all the backgrounds you've wanted to make for a while. The will to create a truly fantastic background was sparked. However, our Mabinogi isn't like this. I worked too hard on sculpting using graphics tools, but it didn't have the hardwood feel that Mabi has. When I strengthened the normal, realizing low polygons with the three-dimensional effect of high polygons, the clear feeling typical of Mabi did not appear. However, I gathered my courage and went back to the beginning and thought about what elements determine the characteristics of Mabinogi's background. Mabinogi is a cartoon graphic. The flat feel of the environment setting creates a unique 2D feel, and the diffuse texture has strong contrast to bring out the sense of mass. The sense of shape and proportion of the background had a simpler and more casual feel than the realistic proportions. On the other hand, the texture was closer to real life than expected. In these cases, Mabinogi's background identity was being added. So here's a good example of like the wooden textures being showed well. And then Avalon clearly shows like stone texture. This was it. More than anything, I realized that texture plays a big role. The unique, clean, and organized feeling comes from the texture. So, I tried creating the texture right away. First, create a shape. To what extent should sculpting using graphics tools be done? In sculpting shaping using graphic tools, I decided to neatly process large chunks and edges and only add large cracks to the wood texture. Work efficiency is also important, so the wood grain feel was created using alpha in the tool. So here you can see, like, this is the door to Duncan's house, and this is like the window. We've all seen the preview of his house in Unreal Engine. Second, create a diffuse base color of the object texture. In the past, texture creation was created by combining photo textures with Photoshop or drawing them directly. Nowadays, several tools such as ZBrush and Substance are used. Looking at the Mabinogi texture, we could see that it was close to real life and had a high density. It has a semi-realistic feel that has been processed through photo texture synthesis for stylized texture with high detail. Since it was produced 20 years ago, it had a strong feel of a photo composite hand mat. To reflect these aspects, using the production tool, we used the wood grain texture as a base and built it up one by one. Use the sharpen filter sharpening effect to express highlights and depicted parts more clearly. In particular, care must be taken when creating high polygons to clearly express highlights and shading at the edges. And this looks pretty cool. You can like see how in this picture like the wood is like changing. That looks really cool. And here you can see the front of Duncan's house again. This was it. Although the road was difficult, I was very proud that I had laid the foundation for transferring Mabinogi's style to the new engine. Yeah, it's very important Mabinogi has the same style, and this guy did really good work on this. Like, this isn't easy to do. So on the left we have existing resources, so the resources from Pleon Engine, and on the right we have the Unreal Engine resources. So this is the church in Pleon Engine and the bank in Pleon Engine, and this is the church in Unreal Engine and the bank in Unreal Engine. Making the tiles was also difficult. The tiles also used a texture that was close to real life and had a high density. Think of it as a semi-realistic texture with a processed feel through compositing from a photo texture or a stylized texture with high detail. I tested it out in two ways. Processed through Substance Designer texture creation tool for soil and grass, you can see it here, and photo plus PRB, so physically based rendering, resource synthesis for the soil and grass, so you can see like the two differences between these pictures. How to create a Substance Designer from a stylized feel to a more realistic depiction. Advantage: as work resources accumulate, you can quickly work with tiles with a different feel by reorganizing and recycling nodes. Disadvantage: it takes time to express photo-like details. And photo texture and PRB resource plus Substance Designer and Sampler equals composite. The work speed is fast. Disadvantages is it requires reliance on photo resources, so expressions are limited. So here's another cool picture of Cherconale Town Square. This is kind of cool because now we have a closer look at the actual town square area that a lot of us have spent a lot of time being AFK in. So I like the wood that they decided to add here. That wasn't here before. It used to just be all stone. It looks like they added like wood right here in like the four corners. I think that's to make it feel a little bit more like a bench. And you can also see like the brick right there. That looks cool. And you can see some brick over there too. Overall, I think they did a really good job with this. This looks like Town Square. It feels good. We can see everything appearing. We can see all the trees appearing, all the buildings and fences, the water, the dock for fishing. Let's go right to here. This is our first real look at like Cherconale as a whole. The only thing we really can't see is Fergus's shop. So there's the healer's house way over there. That's going to be the graveyard. I would love to see some close-ups of what the graveyard is going to look like. Looking back, a lot of things happened. There's still a lot to do, but the style has been established. This is how the background graphics of Mabinogi Eternity are being produced. So this was an interesting post to read. I'm definitely glad that they're interested in capturing Mabinogi's style and making it feel like the same game. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at the Mabinogi Eternity section on the Korean website. And today we're going to be looking at For Silky Militian Hair. So, hello, this is Developer K. I would like to talk about the process of applying physics-based animation to bring life to the hair of Militians. In the beginning, there was a skeleton, so this is a skeleton of a Militian. The screenshot above is of the skeleton omitted for illustration purposes. In the actual game, more skeletons are used for various movements. Traditional animation techniques for creating character movement include: there's a basic skeleton for the character, and the key animation which moves the skeleton in XYZ direction and adds a key to each frame is common. For example, let's consider the motion called walking. Since the legs must move back and forth, the thigh, calf, foot, and toe bones must be moved each frame to set the height, left foot, right foot, respectively. Of course, let's move the arms naturally too. Let's set the height by moving the upper arm, forearm, and hand skeletons each frame. For natural movement, the body also needs to be in rhythm. So pelvis, spine, neck, etc. Walking was used as an example, but in Mabinogi, all character movements are performed in the same manner as above. It is a key animation method that holds the key by moving the position of the skeleton for each frame. The motions of various skills, the motions of actions, etc., all movements. When the above skeleton moves, the attached modeling should also move along with it, right? The work done to achieve this is called rigging and skinning. Connect each vortex of modeling to the skeleton rigging and set the skeleton by giving weights that will be affected by its movement skinning. This allows the attached modeling skin to stretch or shrink when the skeleton moves. Since the basic skeleton of the character is shared, even if the modeling is changed, if the skinning is done properly, the animation operates normally. So hair animation, let's take an example of a ponytail. It is said that animation must be added to the ponytail hair with all key animation data created based on the basic skeleton described above. First, we need to add a skeleton for the ponytail for movement to the basic skeleton. So here you can see the picture for an example. Now all you have to do is add a key for the movement of the additional skeleton for the ponytail to the animations you previously created for character movement. In all character animations 13,586, the key of the skeleton added for the ponytail must be adjusted step by step. So here's all the steps. As the hair bones continue to be added to the base bone, rigging and skinning problems also arise. So, separation of the hair skeleton. Before something like the above becomes difficult just by imagining it, let's separate the hair skeleton from the basic skeleton. Leave the existing basic skeleton and animation data as is and create a separate skeleton for the hair. Let's use the ponytail as an example again. Let's create a separate hair skeleton like this and create a separate animation for the ponytail that will run simultaneously with the existing animation. At this time, when the walking animation of the basic skeleton is executed, the walking animation of the ponytail skeleton is also executed at the same time. The animation operates separately on the two skeletons, but the result looks like one movement. Of course, for this, it is necessary to adjust the frame length of both animations and keep adjusting them based on the basic skeleton animation so that the hair does not stick out too much. Separating the skeleton only solves problems in the rigging and skinning process compared to adding a hair skeleton to the basic skeleton. The process for creating a key animation corresponding to all existing animations is the same. Currently, in the case of moving wigs and hair Mabinogi, the skeleton is separated for each hair mesh and a key animation is created and applied in response to the motion applied to the existing basic skeleton. Physics-based animation. What is physics animation? It has physical properties such as mass, inertia, damping, and elasticity. This refers to animation that is simulated to produce results similar to everyday physical phenomena. In short, if you set various conditions, movement is automatically created according to the physical phenomena. If you just listen to the exclamation, there is no need to specify the position for the skeleton for each frame like in the existing key animation. It sounds like a technology that naturally and automatically simulates the position of the skeleton. In reality, there are many things to consider in order to express natural movement. Let's use the ponytail as an example again. Even in motion, in place, in motion that moves and runs, or in motion with high acceleration, the simulation should come out not moving as if it's bouncing too much, right? In small movements, there is little response to external factors, so it is difficult to express the ponytail's movements in detail. On the other hand, with large movements, acceleration or collisions can make the simulation unstable, causing the movement to appear inaccurate. To respond to these problems, adjust the parameters of the physics simulation, or adjustments to the magnitude and direction of the motion are required. Nevertheless, there are cases where it is not possible to satisfy both extreme situations of small motion and large motion. Initial physics-based animation test appearance, so that's this here. So 1, no physical animation, and 2, small physical animation movement, and 3, large physical animation movement. So you can see here how the hair isn't moving at all when the character moves, and you can see here how it's moving a little bit when the character moves, and in 3 you can see how the hair is moving a lot when the character moves. For the flowing Malaysian hair, the key animation and physics-based animation introduced above are all research and development processes for the flowing Malaysian hair. In addition, there are various contents such as combination of key animation and physics-based animation, retargeting system, etc. We will cover related content in the next costume animation, the 4-pointed skirt we will cover related content in the next costume animation. The 4-pointed skirt is actually... As the journey of the Mabinogi Eternity project continues, Malaysian's hair will become even more luscious. Okay, so this is good. So they are working on hair movement in this part of the update. Okay, so we'll be looking at another part of the Mabinogi Eternity section on the Korean website. So the 4-point skirt is actually... So we develop with Unreal Engine, so of course the skirt will naturally flow, right? This time we will focus on expressing natural movement in costume animation, especially skirt-shaped costumes. Let me introduce you to the animation-related R&D process. Let's briefly recall the key animation and rigging and skinning introduced in the hair animation section. Key animation holds the key by moving the position of the skeleton for each frame. Rigging and skinning connect each vertex of the modeling to the skeleton rigging and give the skeleton a weight to be affected by its movement, skinning. 4-point skirt, not bulletproof. Taking the popo skirt as an example, the skirt hem of the popo skirt is rigged and skinned to the leg bones. So when the legs move due to the key animation, the attached skirt moves together. So what should I do to make the skirt part of the 4-point skirt move separately? You just need to create an additional skeleton to move the skirt and set a separate key animation. Volitions who have seen the hair animation process will have already noticed, but there is a problem. So they're just saying the same, they're just using the hair example here. If this continues, the skeleton will continue to proliferate as each costume has a different shape. However, this is a problem I have already experienced once with hair animation. Just apply the same solution as hair animation. So, cloth simulation. It is a type of physics-based animation that was previously introduced in hair animation. It refers to a technology that imitates the motion of flexible materials such as clothing or fabric. What makes hair animation different from physically based animation is that cloth simulation movements do not require a skeleton. Of course, since physical calculations are performed at the vertex level instead, it is bound to be heavy in terms of performance. What if we combined Mabinogi with cloth simulation, which is excellent for expressing the smooth movement of fabric? I started applying the cloth simulation by imagining the possum skirt I was wearing swaying in the air every time I walked. The problem is form. A problem occurred during testing with various types of skirts: short skirt, long skirt, wide skirt, narrow skirt. By rigging and skinning, there are no parts that can be stretched beyond the original form of the modeling. As physics calculations were performed at the vertex level, side effects occurred, such as legs going through the skirt or the bottom of the skirt being rolled up. Of course, there is room for improvement by setting additional physical properties and increasing the amount of computation. It was difficult to expect natural movement in long and narrow skirts. If you attach a skeleton as before, rig it, skin it, and then use the key animation to move it, the mesh will stretch beyond its existing shape. The movement of the flowing skirt that was initially thought is moving further away. Physics simulation again. As applied in previous hair, a separate skeleton for the skirt was created, separated from the basic skeleton, and attached to the skeleton for the skirt. A method of applying physics simulation was introduced. The basic skeleton of the character is used to control the character's movement. This skeleton determines the overall movement of the character and handles the basic animations such as walking, running, jumping, etc. The skeleton for the skirt is responsible for simulating the physics of the skirt parts, used to represent the movement of the skirt more realistically. Physics-based animation calculates the movement of the skirt by considering physical factors such as gravity, air resistance, and external interference. For example, when a character moves quickly, the effect of a skirt blowing in the wind is physically simulated. The physical effects make the game character's motion feel more lifelike and realistic. By combining these two separate skeletal systems, the overall movement of the character utilizes traditional animation techniques, while the movement of one particular part, the skirt, is expressed more naturally through physics-based form. However, there were problems with applying physics-based animation. In small movements, there is less response to external factors. The movement of the skirt is difficult to express in detail. On the other hand, with large movements, acceleration or collisions make the simulation unstable, causing the movement to appear inaccurate. To respond to these problems, it is necessary to adjust the parameters of the physics simulation or adjust the size and direction of motion. There were limits to the physical simulation results appearing natural in all movements. Combination of key animation and physics simulation. To solve the problem, key animation was applied to the skeleton at the beginning of the chain in the chain-shaped skirt skeleton. This ensures that movement at the top of the skirt is reliably controlled by key animation. We apply physics-based animation to the remaining bones of the skirt, propagating physical movement based on the key animation movement of the top bone. Through this, it has become a form that can satisfy both stability in large motions and movement in small motions. The problem is that you need to separate the skeletons for all skirt-shaped meshes and set key animations for each skeleton for each mesh. To solve this, we used Unreal's retargeting function. Utilize retargeting system. To increase efficiency, add a skirt bone to the basic torso skeleton. Using this, we used Unreal's retargeting system in the process of applying key animation to the top bone of the skirt. Add the skirt's armature to the main torso armature. This integrates the skirt and bodice bones into one frame. Apply key animation to the skirt bone added to the basic torso bone. The animation will control the movement of the top part of the skirt. Using Unreal's retargeting system, skirts of various shapes, long skirts, short skirts, skirts with one side long, skirts with different waistlines, starting points, allows you to correspond to the movements of the basic torso skeleton. Through this, the movement of the upper part of the skirt is moved by the key animation of the skirt bone of the basic torso skeleton, and the remaining parts are moved by the animation key of the skirt bone of the basic body skeleton. Each skirt is moved by a physics simulation of the skeleton connected to the mesh. Using a retargeting system, we efficiently integrate the structure of the existing torso skeleton and the newly added skirt bone. It was effective in combining animations for various parts by flexibly constructing the character's skeleton. So you can see in this image here, retargeting results. Light blue basic skeleton, blue skirt mesh skeleton. Okay, so yeah, the light blue here is like the basic skeleton, and then the dark blue here, the normal blue, is the skirt mesh skeleton. We may not be satisfied with all forms, but we will find the answer. As always, below is a temporary modeling resource for testing that was used in the early R&D process. Key animation, torso skeleton plus upper skirt skeleton, physical animation, skirt lower skeleton, combination result. So here you can see those images. The 4-point skirt was actually a skirt that moved in the air. All of the content introduced above was a process to express the natural movement of the 4-point skirt. Although cloth animation has not been applied to cloth skirts, research is underway to apply it to cloaks and certain types of mesh. In addition, various research is underway to improve the natural motion of clothing using a new engine.
Alright, let's play some Mabinogi today. So there's some sort of update coming out. The Tiltian Harvest Festival. I just noticed this. Okay, there's an outfit box. Can we see what any of these things look like? No visuals for the outfits. But yeah, the new life update is going to improve a lot of life skills and farming stuff. So it makes sense to do an event like this. Alright. Let's jump in the game. And let's do a rebirth. So after today, like tomorrow's stream and going forward, might be doing a lot more like commerce focused streams, because there's that cat backpack thing that you can get from doing the next season of Commerce that's coming out with that new life update. So I'll have to take a second look at it, but if we have to do Commerce to get that, I'm going to be doing a lot of Commerce. Let's go find out what the daily veteran dungeon is. Oh, do I still have a bunch of Beltane crystals? I feel like I might. Yeah, 7 of them. Oh wow, those expire in a day. Oops. I did sort of take a big break from Abby, so those are pretty close to the expiration date. I'm not sure how many passes I could pull for Nowhere to Run today. Well, first let's find out what the veteran dungeon is. Math dungeon. Alright. Alright, let's see if I can get any passes for Nowhere to Run. Receive random items. It's all up to chance. Three. Okay, we could do a few runs of that today. And then I could try and get some more passes tomorrow too. But we're gonna do the Veteran Dungeon. So what Arcana am I in? I'm in the Blazing Brawler, that's good. We're gonna use that. And what kind of buffs do we have? Let's see, we'll keep those details open. Oh good, I still have that 5 times combat XP buff on. And a lot of XP potions, so... Sinister Games, welcome in. Mostly just doing some dailies today to get ready for the new life update tomorrow. Oh, and I need doll bags. Let's pull out Irusan and Pan. I'm looking forward to the ship times being shorter for commerce. That's gonna be real nice. Where'd that pass go off to? Wait, it should be somewhere in here, right? Oh, here it is. I started playing Mabinogi back when the Secrets of Aranid was new, so that was like, what was it, Gen 7 or something like that? I remember because that was the, that was like the background for the login screen back then. ...2015 might have been around the time Alchemist came out, like Gen 9. Because that was only a few years after I joined. So they may have been on like Gen 9 or 10 back then. That is a pretty good time to introduce someone to Mabinogi. For the most part, Mabinogi always does a really good job on Halloween events, in my opinion. Maxed out Sacred Guardian, that's nice. It's the crests that are the expensive part. Like, leveling, it's not, an Arcana isn't so bad, but it's it's always the crests that usually end up taking a while. Well, except during events like this, that give you a bunch of crests for free. But yeah, for the most part, I still think Mabinogi is a great game. Like, and Eternity especially has given players a lot of hope back. Like, I think there was a time when a lot of players, including myself, was just wondering, like, how much longer before the game I love dies? And then they announced Eternity, which really brought a lot of life back into the game. I think the bigger problem Mabinogi has right now is that they're focusing way too much on pushing everyone into like endgame dungeons and stuff like that instead of improving older content. Like, veteran dungeons are no longer a challenge, older dungeons and shadow missions are no longer a challenge. They did the right move fixing tech missions though. And like, bandits in commerce are all too weak, like even master bandits aren't like really a challenge at all. Instead of pushing everyone to new endgame content, they really should put a little bit of focus on improving the content we already have. Yeah, and that's like the problem. Like before, I mean, you know, it was like back in the old days. Before, I mean, now would just give you like some bread and some cheap rags and be like, you're on your own. And you had to figure everything out on your own, and it took forever to catch up. There were players that purposely stayed under level 1000 because there were benefits to staying under level 1000. It doesn't mean I think, like, the fast progression is necessarily bad, because, like, I think the Planet update was definitely needed. It was... I think it brings more positives than negatives. I just think that, at the same time, we need to go back and scale up older content to match those updates. I honestly think it will be a lot better if Min Hyung-un comes back, instead of Choi Dong-min. Like, most of the bad updates we've been receiving have been under Choi Dong-min's watch, because Min Hyung-un has had to step down to focus more on Eternity, so I'm kind of hoping he comes back and replaces Choi Dong-min when Eternity is finished. Yeah, and that's like the thing too, like even if Eternity comes out, sure it can look nice, but that's only gonna hold players for so long. If they stay and realize how bad some of the older content is like right now, they're not going to stay. And that's the problem. I'm kind of interested to see how the New Life update will go over, though, because it's like... I remember when New Life came out in Korea, I was reading the comments on it and everything, their forums and all that, and... the negativity was not as bad as New Rise, at least not from what I saw, but they still had complaints about it, so... From my understanding, it was a decent update, but it still was pretty mediocre, according to most of the players over there. So I'm actually curious how well the New Life update will go over here. Yeah, that's true. I mean, some players are just complainers, but I don't know. I feel like I feel like even though the forums might complain a little too much, there is some truth to it, because most of the updates Choi Dong-min has released have not gone over very well. So it's kind of kind of accurate for the most part. But yeah, they need to know how to retain new players. And I don't think that pushing everyone into doing the 4 endgame dungeons that we have is the only option. Well, actually 5 new endgame dungeons. There is a new endgame dungeon coming out that's after Brelith. Because there's what? There's Phantasm, Crom, Flemberna, and Bree. So yeah, we have 4 right now, but there's a 5th one coming out. I made a dungeon video on it, but like basically what I think is that with where we're at right now, I think that veteran dungeons should be removed and veteran level should just be like the normal level. So when you drop any random item, like it is just a veteran dungeon. Like these don't feel like veteran dungeons anymore. Like even now I'm just casually strolling through this place, so it kind of feels like a normal dungeon level. It's also kind of insane what you can do with pet summons, like, I can just... In a way, pets are almost their own fighting talent. Wait, did I use my other one? Yeah, okay. But yeah, there's a lot of Mabinogi stuff to look forward to in the future. I mean, like, the alpha test in Korea for Eternity, that's starting up in September, I think. It's going to be going on for like 3 or 4 days over there. And then Mabinogi Mobile released, I think, in Japan already, and it's gonna get like a global release probably like late this year. So it's definitely the year where Mabinogi is going places. I'm assuming they won't have an NDA because just from like past experience, Mabinogi typically encourages content creation. Oh, I gotta repair my weapon. Like, Mabinogi has always encouraged people to make videos. I mean, there's even a feature in the game where you can record your gameplay. So I don't think they'll put it under an NDA, but you never know. If anyone does post their gameplay, like I'll be looking at it for sure. Like I'll probably put together like a short video where I give my opinions on some of the gameplay that's shown.
빛을 따라 걷다
Yeah, if I'm able to. Like, if, like, I'll keep an eye out on like, Korean creators that play the, pre-alpha. If they post their gameplay content, I'll take a look at it and probably make a short video, like, about, like, what I think of it and everything. Eternity must be pretty close because, like, we're not gonna get any new Arcana until Eternity comes out. I think they announced that. Like, they're going to improve the existing Arcana a little bit. But I think we're done getting new ones until the update comes out. We could be looking at, like, maybe late 2027 at this rate. I think one thing I am concerned about with Eternity is I noticed when they showed some gameplay at the fantasy party, I noticed that when players had their inventory open, there was like a weight icon, so apparently like there's some sort of weight system, so I hope they don't have some weird system that limits how much stuff we can carry, like in other games. Where did I miss the key? Maybe I missed something down here? Oh yeah, right down here. But yeah, I'm just kind of thinking, like, after the closed beta, they'll probably take a couple of months and then, like, review it and go over it and all that. And then they always do like a winter showcase at the end of November, early December, something like that. So, I mean, we could see something like... At the winter showcase, they could maybe announce maybe doing a closed beta in like February or March of like 2027, do a closed beta, see how that goes, and then maybe plan a release like later in 2027. Like, I could see that happening, potentially. Might be 2028 for us. I mean, like, we're always about 6 months behind Korea, so... But I can live with that kind of wait as long as it comes out over there and I can review the content. Gacha weight increase. That's exactly what I think the goal is, because that way you have to use the dressing room more. That's what it is. They want to force you to use the dressing room more, so you'll have to pay more gold to take out your outfits. Limit how many you can carry on you at once. I mean, I don't use the dressing room for hardly anything. I have a couple of outfits stored in there for their idle animations, but that's pretty much it. Like, I keep most of my outfits on my person because I have the inventory space to do so. I do that with most of my characters, and I have maybe like 5 or 10 in the dressing room just to use their idle animations. So they want to force players like me to use the dressing room, so I'll be forced to actually pay gold to use my stuff. Which is kind of ridiculous because we don't really need a bigger gold sink. Like, players that play for free or mostly free already have to pay a ton of gold if they want to get gotcha items from the auction house. And to top it all off, when we don't have this Arcana event going on, upgrading your Arcana with the crests is kind of expensive. And on top of that, upgrading your Stardust costs a ton of gold too. So we already have a lot of like large gold sinks in the game as it is. Looks like that's the end of that Mabby playlist. Let's do Mabinogi mobile music. That was the Fantastic Melody. Like, they had that Fantastic Melody event where they like hired an orchestra to do some of their to redo some of the songs. It's too bad we haven't heard too many of the tracks in Eternity yet. They've only released a few of the ones that they've redone in Eternity, but some of those sound pretty good too. Yeah, it doesn't really matter like what version of Mabinogi, but like all their music is usually pretty good. The original, the redone, the tracks in Eternity, and then we have like the Fantastic Melody stuff, and then we have the Mabinogi mobile tracks. Like all of them are just, they always do a good job. Although I do hope some of the audio issues are fixed for Eternity. One reason why I have the Mabinogi music like off and I use my own playlists is because there are a number of different ways that you can accidentally like mess up the Mabinogi like in-game music. There's tons of ways that can get messed up where you have to like restart the game to fix it. Shadows bug out. No, I've never heard of that before. So something happens that like messes up the shadows? There are some instances where there are some objects and stuff that cast shadows even if you have them turned off. Like, is this part of the prop? Like, I don't have shadows on, and in the Pieka dungeon lobby, I'll still see shadows anyway because they're just items in the lobby that are designed that way, I guess. But yeah, there are a lot of little technical issues that kind of need to be fixed, so that's another reason to look forward to Eternity. Like, I'm looking forward to having slightly better keyboard controls for moving around, and better movement permissions, and less music and visual glitches. Yeah, I think older players can tolerate it more because we're just kind of used to it, right? Like, after playing for a certain amount of time, you just get used to bad controls. But if you like play just about any other MMO out there, most of them have way better movement controls and like combat controls than Mabinogi does. Like old veterans like us, we don't really notice it as much like when we're playing the game because it's just how it's always been. I mean, it's not too bad if you've like done it for a while, but like I've definitely played MMOs where the movement is definitely better. At least we have WASD movement. There are still some old MMOs that are still just the point and click ones. I think even RuneScape has WASD movement though, doesn't it? Like they added it. I'm not sure. Maybe like the old school version. I've never really played it. Maybe that one still has like point and click. I don't know if they have WASD or not, but the modern one I'm pretty sure does. Yeah, it's fine if someone wants to like relive the days where it was just point and click, but like for most modern MMOs or older MMOs that want to be modern, WASD movement is just like a must. I'm not really sure how big the audience is for like just point and click players, but MMOs have evolved. Part of the reason I've stuck with Mabinogi so long, though, is because, like, I've played a lot of MMOs in the past, and Mabinogi's been one of the very few that can actually hold my attention for a very long time. Like, usually when I try out a new MMO, I typically get bored of it within the first week or two. I usually quit it after less than a month. Because even though it can have some decent features or good controls, it's just there's something about it that doesn't lure me in. And Mabinogi, it's the opposite. It's like there's something about this game that stands out and makes it unique and makes me want to keep coming back to it. I think I've tried getting into like FF14, like maybe... I've tried getting into it like maybe 4 or 5 different times, and like it's always the same with that game for me. Like I try it out, I play it for a little bit, but because most of the extra features are locked behind doing hours and hours of story, it doesn't hold my attention, and I always usually... I think the longest I played it for was maybe a little over a month. Then I come back a couple years later, see if the experience is any different, and it's not. Yeah, a lot of people play just for the fashion too. Like, that's what's great about Mabinogi, is you don't necessarily have to play it for the story. The story is completely optional. For the most part, you can join Mabinogi, put in about an hour or two, and then you can pretty much do whatever you want. I certainly didn't care much about story when I first joined. Like, when I first joined, I spent most of my time as an elf just hanging out in, like, Philia and running Longa Dungeon. And, like, going to Dumbarton was an adventure. I didn't even know how many dungeons there were back then. Oh, they're there. Never find anything in this inventory. Oops, don't want to get too close to that hellhound. Don't want to alert him until I finish off this one. Okay, fine. I guess I'm gonna lure both of them in here. That's what I love about the Frost Dragon. It's great when you're being teamed up on, other enemies are approaching, you can just get rid of them. And then there was one. King a game with Meteor. So 1. Then 5 more. 2. 3. 4. 5. And 6. Alright, see you next stream. Thanks for stopping by. Spirit gems and gem powder. Do I need to do spirit weapon work? Let's see. I think the claw still needs some work. And okay, yeah, so I only have 2 spirit weapons that aren't max level, I think. The blunt weapon and the sword. Wait, what level am I? $200, nice. So I should do a rebirth. So realistically, I should probably... I mean, for my Arcana, it'd probably be best if I ran that Baltame mission as much as possible. I have enough for 3 runs with those passes. Where do those passes go off to anyway? Oh, here they are. I could run it 6 times today. I could use this to get 2 extra passes for nowhere to run, and then I could also buy one with adventure seals and get 6. And then I could use the 7th crystal like before they expire, and then just like do the actual mission on on like Thursday or Friday. No, I think what I'll do is this. I'll run the Baltame mission 3 times today, and then I'll try doing another poll for passes tomorrow and try clearing it up tomorrow, because these will still be here tomorrow. So we can maybe do that tomorrow's stream. I just want to get the most out of this. Think of it, do I need to do any homestead work? It's been a while since I've checked in here too. Alright, I'm still working on my mushroom stumps for the fence here. I can probably get rid of some of these items. I mostly just set these up for display purposes. Sword one is kind of cool, the weapons. Forget what this one is. Oh, this is just the recruitment booth, okay. Astrology, alchemy. Exploration of music. Well, aside from working on my mushrooms for my herb garden, that's pretty much the only homestead work I really need to put a lot of focus into. Could expand one day, but I don't know. Oh, I have a Rowan figure? Interesting. I never set that up. I wonder how much that sporty wear box is selling for. Because I probably don't want it. What's it called again? The special sporty casual wear? Special 40 Casual wear selection box. Oh, those go for like 8 mil. Let's sell mine for like 6. They'll sell fast. Yeah, it's like 2 mil cheaper than this one. What about the Celtic Travelers boots and gloves? Those aren't worth very much. Okay. Alright, time to run nowhere to run a few times. Gotta level up. So we'll summon the bunny because he'll pick up the gems the zombie drops. And then we'll pick up Pan to pick up... help pick up gold. And then... let's use one of these. Alright, that's 3 runs, so I think that's good enough on Baltane missions for today. Let's see. So wait a minute, yeah, new commerce season is starting tomorrow. Probably gonna do a lot of commerce tomorrow. And let's do a rebirth. Okay, I can probably rank up my Arcana, I think. Take a look. Level 40. I need more crests. So 200 crests and 300 AP. And then we need to be level 50 to get the last one. Well, the 5th link, then we have the Ice Scorched ones. Alright, I think we'll wrap up the stream right around here for today. Before we end things, let's check the main website for any news. It'll probably just be maintenance post announcement, but let's take a look at that real quick. Varsity prep box. Let's see. Let's take a look at all news, maintenance announcement. I want to take a look at the new life thing real quick. And let's have a look at this gotcha page. Outfits are average, don't really care that much about that. I do like the varsity prep kitty hat. That's pretty cool. I'll probably buy that from the auction house. So this is an appearance scroll. Wait, for Knuckles? That's interesting. I don't know if I'll go after the appearance scroll. So overall, a pretty average, boring gacha. I'm pretty much only going to be after the varsity prep kitty hat. I think that's the only thing I really have interest in, so I'll probably just buy that from the auction house for a couple mil. I don't know how expensive that'll be, but hopefully it won't be one of the overpriced items. Oh, and this is a big maintenance, wow. Sometimes we get like a maintenance that starts at like 5 and ends at like 10. That no, this one's going on until noon, so this is gonna be a 7-hour maintenance. So big update. I guess there is a lot of stuff to add with the new life update, so it'll be interesting to see how well the update goes over. And then the new life stuff, I took a brief look at this, but I want to look at it again. The big thing that I'm after from the new life update, like obviously eventually I'll explore like everything that the new life update has to offer. But I'm really after the kitty backpack. Don't they show that off somewhere? Oh, here it is. They show the back, like it looks like Elbon's character is wearing the backpack. But this is from the Challenger box, which is like the highest rank you can get in commerce, so yeah, we're gonna be doing a lot of really commerce heavy focused streams. So tomorrow I might do like a 5 or 6 hour stream where we just mostly do commerce all day, because I want that cat backpack. I am determined to get it. Alright, well let's wrap things up here, and yeah, tomorrow, mostly commerce probably.